Hola, mi gente. Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I am your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your MSP, whether you're a nimble MSP or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. I'm super excited to welcome back our returning guest. You have seen him last year at the MSP Summit. I am talking about my good friend over from New York, my other Puerto Rican brethren, Mr. Marcial Velez, CEO of Xperteks. Marcial, how are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me back. Always looking to talk about MSP and how we can grow together as an industry. So happy to be here.
No, I appreciate it. I think it's for me. It's timely on this around this episode, especially with you, because by the time this air, the Super Bowl would have already played, and what we of our Puerto Rican descent and Puerto Rican culture are calling the Benito Bowl, and I am referring to the halftime show of the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny is what I'm referring to. So for those of Latino descent or who are avid listeners of Bad Bunny, know what I'm referring to. For others, they're referring to the Super Bowl and all the great commercials they're probably watching
Oh
as well.
yeah,
So,
I'm gonna be ready. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna be ready for Benito Bowl. Don't worry about it.
so Marcel, again, I really appreciate you coming back on the show. It's been a couple months here since you've been on. For those who missed that episode or may need a refresher, why don't you give us a quick update? What's new? What's changed over at Xperteks since we last spoke? And really just, how has the business evolved in ways you didn't expect in such a short time?
Oh, there's so many things that are going on. I think this is one of the greatest times to be an MSP. Um, pick what you want to be able to do. I mean, whether it be compliance, whether it be AI, governance, shadow AI, shadow IT. There's so many different areas where you can tackle it. There really is just a matter of focusing as to what it is you want to be able to be known as, good at, and be able to start from there and just do it. Because right now it is amazing time to be an MSP. There are so many right now. IT, it looks easy and people want to think it easy, but it is complex on the back end to make that easy. And so those of us that have been here and understand how to make that happen, the on us to be able to do that is never been more than ever to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing on how, there's so many more MSPs coming into the fold and understanding, and even those that are reimagining the way that they do their practices nowadays, right? As you've heard me and Juan Fernandez from MSP Owners Group, we've been referring to the MSP 5.0, right? What is it you're going to do when what you're doing right now is no longer what you do anymore, right? And so those that are trying to innovate, they're trying to stay ahead of the curve for over the next 18 months. you know when you've built Xperteks from the ground up, right, in the heart of New York City, growing it from a recognized MSP with awards, as we could see in the back there, for MSP 501 and the DEI recognitions that you and I have been gracious enough to be on those lists. Looking back at, what were some of the biggest personal and professional strifes that you've gone through? Maybe talk about maybe some make or break moments, or even that tested you as a founder, and like, how did you push through them? Because for our audience, right, they're probably going through some stuff right now and they're trying to find the motivation or trying to figure out how do they move over whatever it is that they're kind of struggling with. Is there anything that you can think of or that resides with you as you built it from the ground up?
Oh my God. So yeah, so remember I founded Xperteks. We're in our 25th year of
Congrats.
being an MSP. And so we were there at the dawn of the remote monitoring and management tools, where you had all types of now there's so many different MSP tools, but back in the day, being a managed service provider was about monitoring, making sure things were always working, and always, you were continuing to know when uptime was happening. So it was a lot about alerting. And I think that as you start to grow your MSP, you really start looking at what it is that you are going to do best and how are you going to adapt. And today, with so many tools that are out there, there's so many different ways that you can kind of do it. it's amazing how you can almost create, and I always use this analogy. It's like you always have like a restaurant or somewhere where you can cook up your own recipe as to what it is that makes a good meal for that client, to make sure that they're always coming back to eat at your restaurant, right? So
Yep.
making sure that you continue to have those, and every single tool that you have are different ingredients that you've put together, and you've created solutions. Because at the end of the day, number one, you have to be very passionate about technology, right? You want to be able to love what you do, and you want to be able to solve problems for your clients. So I think that initially, one of the stripes and everything else that, was to consider, what is our identity? What is it that we are? What is it that we're good at? So when we started Xperteks, really, we kind of came from the Apple side of things. And people were like, are you kidding me? Like, Apple, like, you just started there, of all places? And I was like, yeah. And I used to joke around. I used to always say, yeah, I'm the, when you think about Apple, I'm the Apple guy from the Big Apple, right? I used to always say, oh,
Nice.
but the idea was to make it stick, because you wanted to be able to, for people to remember you, say, oh yeah, this is the guy that can kind of help me in Apple networks. Like, one of our biggest niches is that we work really well in mixed environments, right? So whether you have Apple and whether you have Windows, didn't really matter to us. But since we kind of grew up from the Apple side of things, right, we understood how to make those environments kind of work together, and work together very well. So that's what we were known for. So we took that niche, right, and started looking for tool sets that would apply to both. So even though there were so many different things that we could have done, and we could have went in so many different directions, we said, you know what, this is our flag. This is what we're going to be known as and be good at, and I can take it from there.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, right? Because a lot of MSPs nowadays, they're told to niche down and pick a lane, right? And you mentioned mixed environments, right? And that's something that we all deal with. No matter what MSP you are, you're dealing with a mixed environment, whether that's Windows and Apple, BYOD to company issued devices, policies and procedures. And so it sounds like what you did was, obviously, you embraced that in the beginning and really focused on the ability of, hey, we're going to support your environment, because we don't care about what the technology is. We're looking at this as a business problem, and your business is running off these tools. How do we make that efficient for you? Did it take you quite some time to standardize across something like that? Because, as you mentioned, mixed environment, sometimes, there's edge cases for one thing and the other, and that's where everyone kind of gets hung up and gets lost in the edge cases when building processes. How was that transformation for your business as you went in as your battle card, right, to go into others, like, hey, others are struggling to do this. We know how to do this, and this is why we can make sure that your business is successful.
Well, yeah, because our roots came from being on the Apple side of things, right? And we were focused on that, and that's kind of where it came from. So the idea is that once we transitioned to being an MSP in the early days, it was really about picking and standardizing the tool set that would work with both. Right, because the
Okay.
idea was that you didn't want to have, hey, I have one set of tools for Apple and one set of tools for Windows, right? You want to be
Yep.
able to have a set of tools that would work for both. So we were very discerning as to what that was, and because then we needed to understand how the Windows world works and how it applies to the Apple world, we were able to work together to figure that out, because we wanted to be able to expand. We didn't want to just stay in the Apple world forever, right? We wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we were not just, it's not, it's not Apple Techs, it's Xperteks, right? We wanted to be
Next.
technical, and we wanted to make sure that it didn't matter to us which environment that you have. And I thought that would be a very differentiating factor for us, especially in a crowded market like New York City.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, right? And the way you said it is so spot on, right? Is being able to decide on your tool set that will be able to support multiple environments that you can handle, right? And so, back then it was slim pickings, because a lot of them were picking one and then not prioritizing the other, or if they did, it wasn't the same as someone that was dedicated to that specific tool set. And so, being able to find that partner and leverage, and being able to build out processes in there, like I can, for example, for the sake of this podcast, for those listening, is like, how do you handle third party patch management, right? Ideally, your hope is your RMM can take care of that, but we have seen where it's like, all right, we're going to use a third party tool to patch for both and write the same processes and scripting amongst both in the same idea of how do you patch. So like for us back in the day, where Windows, we used to use a product called Ninite to go ahead and do our third-party patching on Windows. And then for all the Macs, we would do using, I believe it was called Monkey, Munkii, was the third-party patching for there. Mimicked the same way, same processes, built the same type of policies, but they behaved in the same way. So again, not only you picking tools that can help with both environments, but having the same type of process and systems that would behave in the same way. So if a new technician, for example, was to walk in and say, oh man, I got two different systems to manage. But if you still have the same principles, it'll help alleviate a lot of those moving forward.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Even, I mean, we didn't find every single tool, and weren't 100% able to find everything, that would be cross-platform, right? There are certain things that, is Apple specific and some things that are Windows specific, but understanding what each role of those tools are so we can combine the processes is exactly spot on in terms of what you're able to do. So we use Adigy for a lot of the extra things that we want to be able to do on the RMM side that potentially Datto RMM can't do, that we use on the Windows side, right? And so, but the same processes and understanding which ones does what well, make sure that's there. So that's a good example of, yes, there are instances where you're going to have to pick two platforms, but the idea is that we want to be able to consolidate as much of the tool set as possible and standardize so we be able to support both. So that's kind of the main thing. So when we look at all our strategic partners and all our tool set and how we discern which tool sets we're going to use and pick what we're going to use from a management software perspective, right? And all the tool and what is our recipe for you to be able to manage any network, we're very picky as to what it is that we're choosing, because we want to be able to support everyone well. We don't want to have one person that knows only one piece of software, another technician that doesn't know it. The idea is that everyone learns it all at the same time, and the team and culture will be able to sort of surround themselves around that.
Yeah. I mean, even down to a point where, as you're going through a lot of this, even in the beginning days, right, when you're running an MSP, you're wearing many hats. Even down to this day, you're wearing many different hats, right? So sales, tech lead, HR, therapist, you name it. So I think the biggest piece of that all, right, is, my question for you is, what's been like the hardest part of maintaining your own mental bandwidth, right? Because in the beginning, it's us, right? And you and I have been blessed to be able to bring on people and employees and contractors and teams to help with us on all those things. What has been something that you've done, whether boundaries, lessons, rituals, to avoid burnout over the last several years, even especially like through tough times, whether it's personal or in the economy or just professionally? What has been some things that you've learned or coped with to help you go through some of those things so you don't go through the burnout?
Oh man, in the beginning, you're doing it all, right? You're the tech, you're the accounting, you're the billing, you're the invoicing, you're the CTO, you're pretty much wearing literally every hat. The hats are so big they hit the ceiling, right? So the idea behind it is that at a certain point you have to let it go and understand that this is a business, right? And so yes, I got into this business because I'm passionate about technology and I wanted to stay within technology. And if I was to be a tech for the rest of my life, then I would be a technician for the rest of my life. But I didn't. I wanted to grow a business, right? So the first thing I had to let go was being a technician, right? And I had to make sure that I had now someone who's going to be the technician, because why? I needed to focus on the business of running an MSP. Right? And what does that entail? So all the administrative work, all the accounting work, all the HR stuff, all the healthcare stuff, everything that has to do with running a business, making sure that you're reconciling your bank accounts, making sure that your billing is correct, making sure all the different things, your contracts, your insurance, everything has to do that. And there's so many things that you have to do just to make sure that you're running a good business that you just don't have the time to deal with fighting fires and being a technical. And I get it. I understand that, hey, you want to start a business, you're good at tech, you want to be able to go out there and solve problems for clients. But at the end of the day, you're helping those clients because now you're starting to build a team, and building a team and building a business around that team is sort of your mandate if you're starting to look to be able to grow your MSP business.
You know, that drives two questions, and I'll ask this one first, right? You know, I think a lot of MSP owners struggle with scaling without losing that family feel, the high touch service that they personally have provided to their clients, right? And oftentimes they're very nervous in either bringing in either a back office person to help and communicate, you know, when it comes to billing and office work and invoicing and charge needs of that nature, or even more so on a technician or a technical side. You know, are they going to provide the same technical nature that I was able to do back in the day, right? You know, have you seen or have there been times where growth created any internal tensions inside Xperteks, and really just more on processes may had to been developed, roles, differing visions, and how did you navigate some of that, right? Because I think, you know, when you have that anxiety, you're hoping for the best, right? For not only in regards to the client's experience, but also you're growing the business, right? And you want to make sure you get the right people that are in place. How have you kind of made sure you had the right people in place to help your clients and ultimately grow that Xperteks brand?
Yeah, so I tell you right now, hope is not a strategy. You need to be able to tackle those challenges head on, right?
Yeah.
And so as we started to grow, there was a lot of things that we did that weren't right. That we made mistakes. Everyone does, but the idea is to either own up to those mistakes and be able to grow from the mistakes and learn from those mistakes. Is probably the biggest thing that you have to do. So when you're talking about getting technical help and getting sometimes I made the wrong hire, and it was I thought he was a good tech. Be quick to fire. Be quick to nope, that's not a person that's representing who we are as our core values in terms of our company. So therefore you start attracting the people that are passionate about technology, people that you want to be part of your brand and part of your company, who are going to represent not just you, but you, because you're out there looking for new clients and you're looking there for new companies. And as a CEO, that is really what I look for. I look for to make sure that I'm finding growing businesses and people that need help to be able to grow and scale their businesses, because as they grow, we grow. Right. And so
Yep.
that's the essential key part of it. So yeah, there are going to be a lot of things that you kind of go through. And I think that, making that first hire and starting to, master what your strategy is going to be as an MSP, right? But be able and be cognizant of how you're going to delegate that execution, right? And
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
it's going to be delegated, and you are driving it, right? You don't have to necessarily be the guy who drives it, the guy who executes it, the guy who does everything, right? And so you
Yeah.
have to resist that urge to be able to do that. And you have to definitely start putting people in place. And then you start building that culture from within, that everybody wants to be able to have that sort of shared vision as to like where you're going, where the company's sort of heading. And when you have that, magical things happen. And it is up to me to make sure, and my partners, right, to make sure that we're setting the stage, right, for everyone who's a part of this to be successful. Right. So, one of the key things, one of the early things that I did, I wanted to make sure that, when we hired a tech, I gave him a laptop, I gave him all the tools, I gave him access to everything that we had to be able to learn as quickly as possible and kind of get up to speed. If they had any questions, creating that safe zone that says, hey, you know what, if something troubleshooting, it's just kicking your ass, come like share, let's see what's going on. Let's see how we can solve it together. And so coalescing around problems and being able to help clients sort of solve them as quickly as possible sort of fosters that energy and that culture inside your business.
You know, and you hit on my next question, and what I wanted to ask you is like, obviously, company culture in IT services is tricky, right?
Mhm.
You got tech folks that are independent, deadlines are tight. You might have a remote or hybrid workforce that adds layers to how it used to be when you were back in office. Has there been anything that you implemented specifically that has helped in not only the impact of how you're driving value to your clients and internally for every one of your employees and teammates and staff members, but also that have been able to increase morale because they enjoy coming in. They love being a part of the team. And it's not just a day-to-day job for them because they love being able to represent the brand.
Right. So the idea behind that is that you cannot make it an environment where everybody's individually siloed, right? You can't make it so the only way that they communicate with other team members is through tickets and emails, and they're just some, email name or somewhere name that I need to deal with, who is either a supervisor, a level 2, a level 3, a level whatever. Like, they have to be people, right, who understand it, because at the end of the day, we're problem solvers,
Yep.
right? We're getting X amount of problems on a monthly basis, X amount of problems on a daily basis, X amount of problems on an hourly basis, right? And so you're dealing with problems, and you got to be able to feel that you're not doing this alone. You got to be able to know that you're there with other teammates, right? Who are there, who you can bounce ideas, bounce questions off, bounce whatever, and kind of get through it. Like you're a squad that you're going out to go attack the hill, and you want to make sure that your tight squad is there and everyone's covering you. It's that kind of sort of culture that you have to sort of create, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done and we all solve problems and everything's good, everyone's happy, and everyone gets a sense of joy from being able to solve a problem, make a client happy for whatever reason. And that's really what I know that drew me to being a technician at the time, was because I loved computing and I loved to be able to solve those problems for our clients. And so feeding that flame for everyone and creating a culture where everybody can share the wins, share the losses, share the doubts. Those are the places where I think that it's the opportunity to sort of bring everyone together and have everyone communicate at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you hit right in the head, right? And I think for us, right, we from the inception of Prodigy Techs, when in regards to when we started hiring employees, we had always been a remote workforce. And then we would have some members that were local. Some of our members are across the U.S. And so for us, and I love what you said. Like, it can't just be emails. It can't just be messages on Teams, and just figuring out how do we bring everybody together, right? And there was something I learned at one of the trade shows that I visited, and they said, "Why are you being selfish in attending here and not exposing the love and what you love coming to events and the learning and the experience and networking with other fellow MSPs? Why are you selfishly taking that all for yourself? Why isn't your team experiencing that?" And it was something that always stuck with me, because I'm a true believer, and especially for here in MSP Owners Group, is that employee experience drives client experience. And if the employee experience is not great, you're going to see that as they represent the brand, right? And when you can have one of your team members or staff members care more about the business and treat it as if they own the business too, that's when you're truly successful. And so for us, what we tried to do is I tried to include them in other events. We made, before the acquisition, PAX 8 Beyond, our annual retreat. And that was where I would bring all my teams from both companies, from here, MSP Unplugged, for Prodigy Techs. And that's where we had it. We would talk, we would strategize, we would attend all the sessions. Rob Ray and team over there, and there's a lot of great members over there, know how to throw a good unwinding of events. Yep. Right.
Yes, they know how to jam.
They know how to jam. And so, and they show that not everything just has to be all work. We're all humans. We all have personalities, and we love being able to connect with each other. And so it's such a great opportunity, where I had the blessing to be able to do that 3 years ago. And ever since then, it had been our annual retreat. And so the ladies at Prodigy Techs have always wanted to, hey, when's PAX 8 next year? When are we going to do from there? Now, MSP Owners Group has an official annual retreat, right? And so some things may change on there, but the importance of exposing them to an event drives so much effort and so much morale in the company. So what I can tell you is that I forgot which event I was in Houston. Was Exchange in Houston? I can't recall.
Yeah, it's probably Next Gen.
It was Next Gen. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
So we had this great event. And so was that Next Gen, and I invited our CIO from Cool Technology Group, which is the other MSP part of the MSP Owners Group brand. And I found out through our annual retreat that they never been to an event, to a trade show event. And I was like, what? I was like, oh yeah, no, we gotta fix that, right? It was local. I didn't take him away from too much. And so he attended the boardrooms. I mean, when I talked to Chris, who is the owner, the CEO and owner over at Cool Technology Group, he said, I don't know what it is, but the moment that Anthony came back, boy, you thought he can run through walls, because he was so energized and motivated from being around all those people and all that and learning and just understanding what's out there. It did such a great thing. And again, this is the whole point, right? Is to understand, how do you employ company culture? And then, you know, for me and you, we throw a little sazon on there to make sure we stay true to our roots, because again, this is why we do what we do, right? My team are primarily women, primarily of Latino descent. And so they all love the ability to communicate to our clients in different ways and being able to embrace their own cultures, and bringing that through onto our own identity as Prodigy Techs. So some of the things that have been just really great for some of the things that we've done on this side. But, you know, I think for, you know, one of the things that I had, right, is we always like to talk about, we're very adamant about what we believe in. Right.
Yes.
And, you know, you have been vocal about leadership topics like post-merger integrations, remote work complexities, being a trusted advisor in the AI digital transformation. You know, from a people's perspective, right, what's one common way that MSP leaders unintentionally create friction? And how do you counter that over at Xperteks?
I think that a lot. I think that what it is that we love technology so much that we want to be able to talk about it, right? And we don't realize that in and of itself, that's a language, right? That other tech people understand, but not necessarily business leaders understand, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, they don't even care about it that much, right? They don't. This is not. They didn't grow a business themselves because they love technology. They want to grow a business because they want to make money.
Yep.
Right. And so, you know, for us, I think a lot of times we come off as, hey, look at this new tech, look at this new thing, look at this new tool, look at this new, you know, watch out for this new virus. Let's scare them into doing all these different things. And I think that at the end of the day, what we need to do is actually speak their language from a business standpoint and help them understand these are the reasons why, if you don't take a look at technology, this is how it can trip you up. This is how it can start reducing the amount of your valuation. This is going to reduce the amount of what your revenue looks like. This is how come you can't scale your business, right? And so I believe that as an MSP, yes, we need to know the technology. We don't have to necessarily tell them the technology. We just need to let them know exactly what are the things that they need to think about and what are the options that they need to start choosing, so therefore we can help them be successful.
Yeah. I mean, there's such a point where being able to communicate business problems and business solutions, I shouldn't say problems, business opportunities, and being able to explain to the point where, yes, we could band-aid that's causing you a problem. Yes, we can band-aid that and go ahead and take care of this. However, why don't we step a couple feet back and understand what's causing this context of the problem? Where in your business are you trying to solve for X? How can we help with that? And I think a lot of us just focus so much on, again, we're really focusing on the technologies and pieces of that. But, you know, when's the last time you talked to your client and said, hey, out of curiosity, you know, how can I help save you some money? You know, what do you mean? How can you help save me some money? Hey, what do you send me a couple of your invoices of all your IT spend? Let me see if I can help you with something like that. Because you care. You want to make sure if you can provide some value outside of the sources that you're providing. Again, we're all in this to make a living, right? And we're here to ensure that we profit and ensure that we can make sure that the business runs for all of the people that we employ, because we love what we do to help those with technology. That's Why right. aren't you imploring to that, right? And then your second question to me is probably like, well, Paco, that's great. I can get the invoices, but I don't know what to do with them. This is why you ask, right? You ask MSPs like Marcial, myself, Chris Cool, things like that. Hey, how do I get into the printer business? How do I ensure that I can manage the printers for my clients so that I don't have to make sure that I'm losing A, money on the table, but B, they can get a much better service than what they're getting right now. Hey, how do you make sure that they can probably save on their internet bill? And yeah, there are platforms that you can look online like Sadler Partners, Avant, Locate over at Pax8. I mean, there's a plethora of them. So Google them, go through your marketplace, through your partner. If you have a distributor that you're working with, like Pax8, OpenText, etc., go through any of those, talk to them, get conversation, be educated, right? Because these are opportunities for you that outside of delivering service and value, there's a different business value that you can provide. And that's how you get into this whole business advisor term that everyone has been hearing lately, is instead of trusted advisor, business advisor, and really understanding on how you can drive that information for them. How do you drive value and truly now be invited to the budget meetings, to having better quality business reviews, having the ability to talk to them more of a, how are you running your business and how can I help? Because now you've become a confidant for them to be able to move forward and play a bigger role, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that and say that it would be, not just the business advisor, but sort of, business advisors is a very general term, and trusted
Yep.
advisors also a very general term. So, being a trusted technology business advisor, yeah, that kind of narrows it down a little bit more in terms of saying, hey, there's a lot of other trusted advisors that business leaders have, right? They have their legal, they have their accounting, and they have all these different, the huge accounting firms that are out there that they trust them to make sure that things are done, or their tax accounting, whatever it is, right? And so whoever's sitting on that board, right, are people that are within that circle that are making those decisions for that business. And the thing about that is that a lot of MSPs don't think that they have the right to be in that room. That the only right that they have in that room is to make sure that the voice conferencing works and that the TV in the back works. Well, no, the MSP should have a seat at that table, right? Because we can talk about risk mitigation. We can talk about all the different types of things. There's not a business in this world right now that doesn't touch technology in some way, right? And so we should have a seat at that table. And so the idea about how do you become, someone that's respected to be able to enter that room, to sit down at that table? That's the conversation we should be having as MSPs, right? So be able to say, hey, this is the reason why we're here. And this is the thing. Don't just look at us as and I've talked this before, it's like as your digital janitor. I'm not the cleanup crew.
Right.
Right. I'm not the guy that's just going to come in and just react. And the reason a lot of us kind of take to that is that because, we came from a world of break fix, right? Things happen, they call us, we go, we look, we solve, and we fix. Right. And so nobody thinks about, hey, we're not just here for that. Yes, that's part of the job. But we also, take a look at, what can go wrong? How do we proactively prevent things from happening? How do we go about and create a technology roadmap for you? Let me understand what's going on from a business standpoint so we can put our technology lens on it and help you get to that where you want to get to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's to a point, and I mean, this is a great topic, right? Because what you don't know is what you don't know, right? And it's like, for a lot of us listening here, like, I don't even know how to even garner that conversation of how should I have a seat at the table. I think that would be a great session at TechCon for someone who, might want to come over and speak on that. So I'll go ahead and tag you later about it. But the goal is, I think for a lot of us is it's easy to talk about it, right? And those that are listening, and we want to make sure we implore and we encourage you all to really just dive in a little bit more, dig deep, find the depth in your opportunities that you currently have versus trying to find new opportunities. You'd be amazed on what kind of revenue and opportunities that you can unlock just with what you have, right? And it's all about a conversation. It's all about trying not to keep it together close to your chest, being vulnerable, having the ability to really have that conversation with one another and really trying to move forward. Now, Marcial, obviously we've talked a little bit about, how things are changing, how the ability, I've talked about like, hey, the next 18 months are going to look different. Where do you see culture playing a big role in MSP success with a lot of these type of generational shifts, whether it's AI, whether it's ongoing talent competition, what's one investment that you can share, either in your people, in your culture, in your business, that you feel is going to pay off in the next several years in regards to really introducing culture to the business and obviously the brand of Xperteks coming through?
Well, at the end of the day, this is a people business that delivers technology, right? And so I think that there's a lot of people that say, "Hey, listen, we're being more and more isolated because we're addicted to social media, we're addicted to social feeds, we're addicted to AI. Now instead of having conversations with people, I'm having conversations with ChatGPT, and it's talking to me about all these different things. And all of a sudden, I'm getting a therapist from ChatGPT, or I'm going to all these other tools that kind of do it. But I think the biggest thing about this is making sure that this is a people business, right? And this is about people helping people with technology, right?
Yeah.
And how we can sort of help them navigate. They don't necessarily, and AI and everything else that's happening, it's so deep. There's so many tools. It is an impossible task to learn every tool, because literally 1,000 new tools just, drop today, right? So there's just no way, and we're all learning about it at the same time. So I think the more that we support each other, right, and the more that we help each other sort of understand and learn how we can help our clients sort of be successful, the better it is for everyone.
That's awesome. I think, driving into culture, and there's so much that we can go into, and I think we're going to round out the episode here with a couple of rapid fire questions for you. But, I think for us, when it comes to culture, it can, there's company culture, there's, our of descent and our own culture that we bring into the business. I think there's so much ability from you as a business owner on bringing your own flair, your own style, your own inclusiveness to what you have, whether that is of race, religion, nationality, the way you perspective. You have the ability to create something special, right? And being able to hold on to that as you move forward into the endeavors of your business as well. But Marcial, I got 3 of them for you, and we'll go ahead and start off with the first one. What's one book, podcast, or habit that has helped you with leadership or culture lately?
Oh my God, there's so many books that's helped me with culture lately. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me see if I even have it right here. There is this one book, one of my favorite books. It's called, I want to make sure I get the title right. It is called, I think it's called Vivid Vision. That's the name of the book. Vivid Vision is a great book because it helps. A lot of times we get lost in the every day. I'm dealing with a ticket, dealing with a problem, dealing with this, dealing with that. And if individually everyone kind of just deals with all the problems for the day, and at the end of the day to just check on and be like, all right, I did it. I survived today. I got through all my problems. I'm done. And then nobody understands where you're going.
Yeah.
In terms of where the company's going. So one of the key things that I took away from that book is to verbalize what the vision of the company is going to be. And that book kind of helps you structure what your vision is for your own company. So this way you can communicate it to the employees so they all know where we're heading to as an MSP.
Awesome. Gotcha. No, that's a great book. I'll have to, do you know who it's by? So we'll have that.
Oh man, oh wait, here it is. Knew I had it nearby. Cameron Harold, this is the book, Vivid Vision.
Okay.
Not a big read, but a really great book.
Gotcha. We'll make sure we have that in the show notes there. Yeah, one I'm currently reading is called Radical Candor. That are in regards to how to speak to your teams, how can you still maintain your own truths. I don't recall who's by, but I will make sure that that's in the show notes as well. Definitely a great read in regards to communication, culture, things of that nature. Basically right now in regards to if you had a magic wand, right, and you wanted to fix one cultural issue across the MSP industry, what would that be?
Oh, to stop being afraid of each other.
Okay.
I think that there are still a lot of people who are left guarded in terms of what their territorial in terms of the IT industry, and the truth about it is that you get by with a little help from your friends, right? And so
Mhm.
we've created a huge, and Paco, I have a huge MSP network of a ton of friends whereby we can help each other grow each other as an industry, and not to be afraid of at the end of the day, we're there to help people. Everybody understands they have their own solution stack. Everybody understands that you have, and then so the idea is that you can learn from each other. And one of the greatest things about going to these events is how much you can learn from each other. And that's probably the biggest thing. I think that you don't have to be afraid of the next MSP. I'm in New York City. I can throw a quarter down the block and hit maybe 10 MSPs, right?
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
am I going to hate on all of them? No. The idea is that we want to be able to go and sort of work together and see where their strengths are. What is it that, oh, that's pretty cool. And now everybody has a new acronym, right? They're either, are you an MSP? Are you an MSSP? And now what's the new thing? Oh, you're an MIP. Oh my God. Oh my God.
MIBs.
So,
MIPS.
The MIPS are out. So it's like, okay, now you're a MIP, you're a MSP, and you're the MSP. I don't know. So it's kind of crazy how it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a technology consulting agency, right? And so we pick our lane, and we pick a model, right? And I look at MSP as that's the business model that we chose to do. This is the business model we chose to excel at, and everything that kind of comes along with it. Okay, vamos, está bien. Let's go.
And my final question for you, which will be a Puerto Rican question, is what is your favorite Puerto Rican dish that you think our audience should try? And either if it be, obviously this is going to air after the Super Bowl, but you know what, my birthday's coming up, so I think everyone should have some type of a Puerto Rican delicacy for themselves. What's something you think that they should try? And then I'll go ahead and throw out mine.
All right, so this way now if we're getting all Boricua right here, I'm going to tell you right now, you got to get some arroz con gandules and pernil. Got to do it. That is a staple. Puerto Rico is known to be the pork capital of the world. There's literally a place in Puerto Rico that's called the Pork Highway. If you ever visit Puerto Rico, be sure to find it. It's in the middle of the mountains, whatever. It'll be the best food that you ever had. So absolutely.
Awesome. So what I will say is I'm going to go with, so mine's an appetizer. So I'll go into the sandwich next to it. Is I definitely think you should try out the rellena de papa. That is basically a potato ball with a filling of some type of meat. They'll have chicken, they'll have ground beef, they'll have potatoes. One of my favorites. Acapulcas is an acquired taste. It's basically fried plantain or bananas with chicken or meat, depending on side of there. But I would have to say the tripleta sandwich is probably a good decision for those. That if you're very curious and you want a good sandwich, I would say that would be a good meal for you right there.
You literally dropped like 5,000 calories in one little. But it is good.
I will tell you this: if you are going to eat any of these foods, ensure that you cleared your calendar for after you've eaten it, because it will hit you really hard, and you will have the best night's sleep that you'll ever had in your life. So,
for sure, you're gonna be able to hit. You're gonna have to hit the gym for sure.
Well, Marcial, I really appreciate you coming on, my brother. If anyone wanted to get a hold of you, learn a little bit more about what you got going on, maybe even pick your brain or see where you're going to be at next, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Listen, one of the best ways to connect with me right now is definitely on LinkedIn. Look me up on LinkedIn. I'm there. My website is Xperteks.com. You can see my website, see what's going on there. But be part of that community and just be able to just reach out. And, I put out content as well to try to help not just our clients and our prospects, but also everybody else in the industry.
Awesome. Perfect. Will you be at, I assume you'll be at Channel Futures in Vegas?
I'm going to try to be at as many events. I'm going to try to be at as much as possible, but we are busy. This is definitely a growth year for us. We did very well last year in terms of what's going on. And I believe that we might be able to duplicate this again. And I'm pretty sure we are. So, awesome. If I can make it there, I absolutely would love to be there.
I only bring it up because I know that that's normally one of the events me and Marcial will be at. So if not, we'll make sure to catch you down the line here at the trade shows. Appreciate you again coming on, and appreciate you tuning in. Tune in every week over at and check out the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button so that you're notified whenever a new episode is available. If you choose to take us on the go, we're on all of your favorite podcatcher apps. Head over to mspunplugged.com. You'll see all the logos of the podcatchers that we're on: Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, to name a few. Click subscribe, and we'd love to have you listen to us on the road with you as well. So again, I know I mentioned that there will be some news coming on TechCon Unplugged. This unfortunately is not the episode that we'll be announcing that here. My hope is we will be dropping that here in the next week or two. Maybe even a birthday present of mine that I would provide to all of you. But it is coming. We will be here coming up in the fall in September. I will go ahead and make sure to get those details to you all here and when tickets are on sale. But we're excited to bring back another year of TechCon, and we look forward to you joining us there as well. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.
Happy birthday, Paco. And, for those of you who want to level up, be sure to tune in on MSP Unplugged.
Sounds good. Take care, everybody.